Hey, hey, hey. Welcome to the 9th episode of Tea with Tea. Today we're joined with an old friend, Michelle,
Hi.
and she is joining us. Michelle, go ahead and let everyone know kind of a little bit about you.
I am Michelle Heath. I run a blog called Elle Talk. It's a lifestyle, cocktail, and food blog. Kind of more emphasis on the cocktail part lately, but no one's complaining.
Right, we're here for this.
Yeah, and that's what I do. I do influencer marketing with it and social media marketing.
Awesome. And you also, you've done a couple marathons, but did you try half marathons?
Half marathons. I haven't quite done the full yet, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, well, we'll touch on that a little farther down the road because I for sure have questions about that.
Ask away.
I'm someone who doesn't really run, let alone like distance run. So I've got some questions about that. But so everyone can kind of get to know you a little more. Mm-hmm. What's a story of yours that you'd like to tell us?
Well, super fun story from this morning, actually. Our dog, we have the most precious Irish setter, big, like, red golden retriever looking thing. And she finds this baby bird. It comes hop-a-little-doodling into our kitchen. All of a sudden, all chaos breaks loose in our house. It's my husband, it's me, it's the dog. We're running around. We're trying to capture this little baby bird because we're such animal people. Like, we can't harm this thing and we need to get it back into its nest. Well, right as the whole thing is coming to a big head, this little bird squeezes into the tiniest spot between the dishwasher and the sink. And now we're completely stuck trying to rip apart our entire kitchen to save a baby bird, and that is the epitome of my life. Chaotic good.
Just trying to do the right thing.
Trying to always do the right thing.
Ooh. Okay, so perfect. So, how did you start blogging?
I actually started blogging when me and my husband got engaged. I did a wedding blog called Becoming a Heath. It was the story of how I was getting married, my wedding planning, and on top of that, there just wasn't a lot of information out there for 2-year wedding timelines. So I made the information, and I just kind of shared how I planned a wedding for, that extended the time frame of 2 years, and it just boomed from there. After we got married, I didn't want to talk about weddings ever again. Right. Because I'd done it and I was over it.
I usually hear that. Like, once your wedding passes, you don't even want to look at anything related to it.
No one better have a wedding in the next month because I can't.
I'm done. Burnt out.
I'm so done.
I see one more tool.
And so then after that, I started talking about our life. In 2016, I rebranded to Elle Talk, and I was like, I talk a lot, and I'm going to talk about all the good things I love to talk about. It just happens to be food and drinks. Who knew?
I mean, I feel like we all like food and drinks as human beings. So
absolutely.
Good little market there.
Yeah, and so that's how kind of Elle Talk came along. It was just a precursor to an old website that I wanted to rebrand and actually turn into a business.
Great. And so what made you realize, okay, I can make a business out of this?
I had friends who had already made a business out of it. And so I was kind of on their coattails learning from them about, influencer marketing, affiliate links, just any type of way that you could work with a sponsor. I mean, at that time point, there weren't a lot of people making full-time income like now. There's just absolutely tons.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely tons. And so for me, I got a little bit of advantage because I had friends who were in it. And that's kind of how we got into that, where when I rebranded, the whole goal was I want to take what I love and I want to make money from it. And that's how I got into it. I feel like it should be more complicated, but it's not.
And usually, like, things that are kind of meant to be, they just kind of fall together like that.
And it really did.
And that's great because, I mean, that's kind of what you set your sights on, and you've kind of, like you said the other day, you've just kind of manifested it, brought it along. So along the road, what has been like an unexpectedly hard part of it?
For me, really, it's comparing myself to other people. I'm completely guilty of this. I know a ton of bloggers, influencers, just anyone in the space. You look at other people, especially if you started kind of growing at the same time as others, and you see them getting these sponsorships, you see them getting these numbers, and you're just like, why not me? I think I'm making good content. And you really can't do that because everyone's journey is completely different. But it is the hardest thing when you're having a hard week, being like, you know what? I'm doing good, I'm doing great, I'm growing, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. When everyone else, it just feels like everyone else around you is just doing it better.
Right.
But outside of that, not too many, unexpected things. It's just really kind of more of an emotional journey is the hard part.
Right. So on the opposite, like side of that coin, what's been your favorite part so far?
My favorite part, I've grown a readership to this point. It's like probably around 38,000 people come a month, and getting their emails. For some reason, my readership's a little bit different. I think it's because they're a little bit older. They prefer to email me than use my commenting system. I love it. I'm totally into it.
Right.
But I get these emails where people are just like, I tried your recipe and oh my gosh, it was just so much fun to create it. Like I did it with my husband, I did it with my girlfriends, and you know, a big thing for my website is when you create food, make memories with it. If you're eating good, you're drinking good, you're gonna have good conversation come out.
And a lot of your posts you like encourage like, hey, do this or do this, whatever's best for you, but just make sure you're mingling, you're hanging out.
Make memories.
Absolutely.
And so when people email you and they're just sharing the memories they made with it, it is, I really don't know a better feeling than that.
It's almost like you're a part of it. You're a part of it.
You're a part of it and you help create it, and I don't know, a little piece of you is kind of going along with everyone else's life.
I think that people are probably emailing instead of commenting, because when you comment, it's there for everyone to see. Whereas like emailing feels a little more intimate, a little more personal. It's just, I mean, unless they want to write a letter, it's the only way to really like get something, my whole message in your hands, and not have to worry about, oh, there's a character limit. Oh, other people are going to see this. Is someone going to judge me based on it? So it's like, I can see why they email as opposed to like commenting. And I think you're right. Like, a lot of younger people, they prefer to comment.
Right.
And a lot of, I mean, I do both.
Yeah, me too.
So, like we just mentioned, a lot of people are using the term influencers. So how, do you ever feel like you shouldn't be using this title? Or when you first started using the title, how did you feel? And then how do you feel now?
I really don't know if I've ever used the title influencer with myself, just because to me, I have these influencers I look up to, and I think they're doing it top level. One of my favorites is local, Meg O on the Go. She does beauty, but her way of influencing, because I've talked to her in person, just blows my mind. And so because I'm a food blogger, and that may be what it is, it's a completely different realm of how you influence people. I always kind of feel like I'm more of a content creator. And that would be the term that I normally associate with myself. But at the same time, it is influencing no matter at the end of the day how you do it.
Right.
But I think another reason I shy away from that term is mainstream media has just kind of put a negative tone on influencer, right? Like, if you're an influencer, you're kind of known for taking free product, not wanting a real job, and all these other really negative things. And so when someone asks me what I do, I just say, I'm a content creator, because then I get to change the narrative of what an influencer actually is and bring it to a more positive light, which is, you know, my goal in life is to make sure people understand like the type of work that goes into this. It's not easy.
Oh yeah. I mean, just a quick side note to spin off of that. How long does it take you to make a new piece of content start to finish?
Start to finish, I'm not going to say per hour, more of a 2-week time span. So that's creating the recipe just kind of in your thought process. Then it's making it. That can be 3 to 5 times. I've done 10, still not come out with a good recipe. And then you got to write it, you got to photograph it, you got to edit it. You know, you got to shop for it. Yeah, it's about a 2-week process.
And so many people think, oh, I just sit at my computer and just churn stuff out.
Right.
It's, like you said, a lot of work. So when people do say, like, oh, influencers don't do anything, like, no, they do a lot.
They do a lot. You know, the biggest thing about influencer, you can't be an influencer if you don't have an audience.
Right.
So you've got to be responding to people. You've got to be trying to get your face in front of other people and building a readership, because if not, then you're talking to thin air and you're not going to sell anything.
Right.
So I think a lot of people don't realize that people don't just show up out of nowhere.
Right. And I think a lot of people, they think, oh, all I have to do is just start it and people will flow in.
Not
Absolutely
at all.
not.
So not at all. I wish. I
That'd be
totally
so
wish.
easy.
My life would have been like way easier. But yeah, no, like you're working, I probably work in a week, probably 60 hours, just trying to get everything settled for a week's worth of content and keep growing on my blog and building a readership.
Right.
And so that's more than most people's 40 hours.
Yeah, right. A lot of people, they do regular jobs. So in the course of your blogging, have you worked like a day job and then made this your side hustle, or has it always been your main hustle?
For me, it was, I started in master's school, and I graduated. I changed up Elle Talk. It was going to be a side business, and I've worked in other outlets. I worked in what I got my master's degree in. But now it's at a place where it can be full-time, and making that transition. Like right now, I've bumped down to working half or part-time in what my degree was in, and now I'm kind of pushing more into getting full-time. And I kind of have to. I had to make a decision. Do I want this to keep growing because it needed the time?
Absolutely.
Or do I want to just not grow it, and this is the stopping point? And for me, that just, I love it. It's such a passion project of mine. So I wanted to keep going with it. And yeah, it takes up way more time in my week than my other job does. I sometimes will just be like, hey, I can't come in because I've got this giant project for a sponsor. And I'm kind of at that point where I almost need to drop the other thing completely.
Right.
And let this creative job be full time.
That's so exciting though.
It's exciting, but it's scary.
And I can imagine that. And that's and my next question was going to be, is the blogging sphere, influencer space kind of saturated, or do you feel like there's kind of enough space for everyone to continue to grow?
I definitely think there's enough space for everyone to grow. I kind of look at blogging at 3 different tiers. You have your beginners, your middle of the ground, and you have your top bloggers. Top bloggers are those high-end ones that are just
they are on Food Network.
They got it. Yeah.
They're guest starring on TV spots, stuff like that.
Exactly. They got books. They got product.
Yes.
They're going. The middle of the ground, I feel like I'm on that cusp where I'm out of beginning. I'm at the beginning of the middle. So in those areas of top and middle blogging, it's not super saturated. The beginning bracket, though, there's a ton.
And a lot of people fall off before they get to the middle.
They
so
do.
I could see why that space especially is the most saturated.
And it does feel oversaturated, kind of from brands' perspective, too, because they can throw $100, $200 at a beginner blogger, and that works. And there's just tons and tons of them to be able to do that with. Because people found out you can make money blogging, but then it kind of falls into this space where, either people fall out or they're just kind of good staying in that secular beginner side of it. They don't really want to make full-time income. And because of that, if you see how many people are working with sponsors, it looks like there's just tons and tons and tons and tons of saturation.
Right.
When you're talking about doing hardcore projects with sponsors, it really kind of gets to a point where there aren't a lot of people. And you can work with a lot of sponsors who maybe will pay more of what you could make full time to eventually getting to that point where it is just abundance amount of income. And those people, those ranges, it's not a lot. There's a reason why you see a lot of those people kind of repeat sponsorships, I forget, what do they call it? Brand ambassadors.
Yes.
Yeah. And so they get those reoccurring positions because they're in the part of the market that's just really it's almost sometimes I think better to be in the middle ground because you're sort of still micro influencer, but you can do a lot more because you have a bigger audience. I feel like I'm just rambling on. I don't even know how to put it.
This is all stuff I've never heard before, so it's great to hear.
Well, at least that's how I perceive it. I don't know 100%.
Well, yeah, and you're only seeing it from
my secular.
Side. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever felt pressure to kind of do more, diversify a little more as opposed to focus on what you want to focus on?
Actually, let's flip that. I've been more pressured to niche down.
Oh.
Because it is, especially when you're in the beginning and you're reading all about how to start a blog, it's about you need to pick a niche. You need to
find your little corner.
Your little nook and stay there. And so I actually learned from a blogger, her name is Helene in Between. She said, I've got a blog, I'm making money, I'm making this my passion, and I don't have a specific niche. And so I took that to heart and I said, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. That's why I made Elle Talk, because I can morph it over the years. I don't have to rebrand my name.
Right.
It can be about...
You don't have to have separate blogs, then you're running 5 different blogs.
Exactly. So, and it can be food. It can be lifestyle. If I want to talk more about life for a year, I can talk more about life. And I think that there are a lot of people who kind of get stuck thinking I have to just do food. And they feel that pressure to just do food when maybe they want to talk about some of the hard stuff in their life.
Right.
And so I would say, if anything, I've been pressured to stay in one lane. And I refuse to.
Right. So what is your advice for someone who wants to start a blog?
If you want to start a blog, it's more so quality over quantity. I remember when I started, I just read repeatedly, you need to be uploading 3 times a day or 3 times a week. Some people do upload 3 times a day, by the way. Like, what are you doing? I want your life. But doing it 3 times a week at minimum, that's not true. You're better off doing it once a week, once every other week, and producing content that is just very good. Like the best of what you can do. And I think a lot of people just feel like if they're not in front of their audience just 24/7, they're not going to grow.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Right. And that's not true. You're better off, especially if you're in recipe, you're better off taking time, cultivating that recipe, making it good. So when people try it, they love it.
It's worth it.
It's worth it. And even if you're on fashion, like putting together an outfit that you take time to look at and really piece together, it's gonna be better than just throwing stuff together trying to get something out.
Right. Some people do, they do like lookbooks where they're doing like 6 or 7 quick outfits. And it seems like, oh, well, this is really fast, but they probably took a month to put this lookbook together.
At least.
It's good to know that, like, take your time and really make it good. Because that's one thing, especially with, like, my podcast. Like, I do try to be consistent, but I also don't want to upload just for the sake of uploading.
Exactly.
Because then what's the point? Anyone could do that. Like the tens of thousands of bloggers who they blog really hardcore for 6 months and then they just get so burnt out. They just give up.
Oh, and that's a huge thing about, if you're not doing quantity, or if you're doing quantity, you're going to get burned out. I've been burned out not doing quantity and just focusing on quality even. Really just harness down. Like, just try to be realistic with yourself. Set a goal for once a week. And if you're hitting that easy, then maybe bump it up to 2. And if you're not, bump it down. Like I said, quality is so much more important. Brands are going to see it. Readers are going to see it. And it'll make a huge difference long term.
Right.
And then if you want to start money, or if you want to make money from blogging, my number one thing from the get-go, treat it like a business. I see so many people who get into it wanting to make money, which, hey, if that's like the sole reason you're blogging, like, go girlfriend, like, I don't care. Like, that's awesome. Own that.
Right.
And if that's the case, treat it like a business from day one, because if you do, you're going to go so much further. And you're going to have a plan. You're going to know what you need to be doing to get sponsors and how to work with sponsors, and especially taxes. When tax season comes, like, if you know all of the business side of what you're doing, then the rest is going to be a lot more comfortable.
Cool. And so we've already heard a couple like really good tidbits you've gotten from other people while you were growing your space. Is there any other like favorite anecdotes or tidbits you've gotten from another blogger or influencer?
Really kind of the biggest ones have always just been kind of the things I've pinpointed, which are, don't pay attention to what everyone else is doing, focus on yourself, make the quality content, don't do quantity. And then probably another one that was really good, no matter, at the end of the day, social media matters with your website. That's really how you're going to grow the bulk of your audience. You don't need to be a pro in all of it. Pick one and work your butt off at it. Right. And then once you get that one settled down, go to another one. If you try to do it all at once, just like if you try to do too much content, you're going to burn out. And you're just going to kind of be okay at one. Take one at a time and have fun. Like, that's another part of all of this, is if you're not having fun, you're going to eventually want to quit.
Right.
And so, just take your time and enjoy the ride for what it is, really. And get to know people. Like, get to know people.
Yes.
Get in Facebook groups. I'm in this group called, I'm So Blogging This. It is a fantastic blogger group, and they are just absolutely wonderful, full of knowledge. And if you can get into stuff like that, it's going to make you feel like you have people in your corner.
Oh, yeah. Joining little communities that is super, super good.
Yeah.
When you're making your recipes, how do you choose like what you're wanting to, like, how are you inspired?
Well, lately, because I've been doing like totally gluttonous recipes, that's because I've been eating super healthy during the week, and then I come and I'm like, okay, I just want to make macaroni and cheese because, oh my God, that's what I want right now. Though normally I follow trends. I try and keep up with like what's other people doing, what's popular in media right now. Like, if there's a movie coming out and I'm like, ooh, they have a reference to a food, I'm going to do that. Like Deadpool, when Deadpool comes out, I'll probably make chimichanga somehow.
Yes.
And then I do what's seasonal. I try to really work with the spring, summer, just any of that, and work with produce in that section. I'll do that even with cocktails. I'll take an old recipe and just say, let's revamp this with seasonal vegetables, seasonal herbs, seasonal fruits, and change how it tastes in the profile for it. And then what else do I do? Just trial and error. I might be like, I really want to make this, faux. And I've just been working on a faux recipe, and it's been just not working. And so then eventually I'll get to a point where I'm going to put that to the side.
Right.
And let's focus on something else. And you kind of get that feeling of, I need to put content out. And that sometimes dictates, you're like, I'm going to just pull from my repertoire of old recipes. If I have a salad, I'm going to be like, okay, let's make another salad, but let's make it different. So just there's lots of different ways to pinpointing when and how you choose to do a recipe. It just depends on what's kind of going on in the world at that time.
Gotcha. So we're going to segue into your cocktails.
Oh, okay.
So how do you make new cocktails besides revamping old ones?
So again, going back to trends, I have done a lot of research into home bartending. I just actually put out a blog post on cocktail books that I'm like, you have to read these. These make you a better home bartender. I follow other home bartender blogs, and just through learning all of that, I've kind of developed how to make cocktails on my own and how to balance cocktails. And so from that point, I go and I'm like, all right, I need inspiration of some sort. What movie's coming out? What's blowing up in social media right now? Can I make a meme off a cocktail? What holiday is coming up? I do a lot of holiday content. One of my biggest recipes is a black magic martini. It's a black cocktail, but it's got edible glitter in it.
Oh.
And so it sparkles and it's magical. And
especially when you pour it in and it kind of swirls.
It just swirls and just sits there, and it's nice and glittery, and it's so much fun. And so that just came out of, it's Halloween. What's going on with Halloween? We need something black. There's not a lot of black cocktails out there. And then I just happened to walk into Michael's and I found edible glitter, and I was like, I had no idea this existed. Can we drink it? And that's really the process I wish was more streamlined, but it's really chaotic. It's just what falls into my lap, what's happening that's popular. Okay, can we drink it?
That almost sounds like a YouTube series. Right. Can we drink it?
Oh, that probably should be.
Okay, so since you're kind of more well-versed than the average bear, if someone's at a bar and they don't know what to order, what are some suggestions that you would lay down for someone?
Okay, I would keep it simple. So if you're into vodka, I would do a Moscow Mule. Super simple. I've not met a person who doesn't love them. It's just ginger beer, lime, vodka. Super easy.
So good.
Crisp and light. If you're into whiskey, go for a classic Manhattan or Old Fashioned. If you try to get too crazy with it, I don't know. A bar might not have the ingredients. And
sure.
B, you don't know if you like it till you try it.
And you'd hate to be saddled with a drink that you hate.
Right, exactly.
Because it's not Starbucks. They're not going to remake it for you.
They're not. The guy's just going to be like, well, that sucks. You know what I mean?
$12.50.
Yeah, $12.50. Thank you. Oh, God, I know. And so I think by keeping it classic, then they're classics for a reason. Most people enjoy them. And then on top of that, you can kind of move out from there. Most cocktails are made originally from somewhere in the classic realm of drinks. So going with, if you do rum, do a daiquiri, not the frozen kind. It comes in liquid form, and it comes in a coupe, and it's super pretty and super chic. And gravely delicious. Will put you in the ground. It's amazing.
Oh.
And a lot of people don't even know that. A lot of people think daiquiri, and they're like, okay, it's coming out of the frozen margarita machine.
Right.
Whipped cream, let's party. And it's no, it can actually be a really classy cocktail, which has about 1,000 different versions of it.
Right.
And if you like that, then you can kind of move on from there and go, what's a drink that's like a daiquiri on Google? And move on. Another one I would also say is a salty dog for if you like gin. I know there's a very small population of people who like gin. I respect it. I love gin personally, but a salty dog is always a good go-to. Yeah, keep it classic, keep it simple, and then if you find that you really love it, get on Google and just say, what cocktail is like a salty dog? And then from there, you can kind of move out of the realm. Also, talk to your bartender if you can grab them. You can get 10 minutes with your bartender and just talk about, hey, I like gin and I like sweet things. He's going to be able to list you out a list of different types of cocktails to order at that establishment.
Right.
And you can just go down the list as, you visit the place.
And that's also a good way to kind of build a rapport with a bartender where they'd be willing to take that time with you.
A lot will, actually. If it's not a super busy day,
right,
a lot will take the time. That's why I love bartenders. They're willing to just talk and socialize with you as long as it's not happy hour.
Right. As long as we're not like 10 people deep at this bar and you're trying to chit-chat with me, that's fine. We've got like the drinks you think people should try. What are some foods that you think everyone should try?
I think pairing foods and cocktails is a good way. Like, I think if you can do that, you are like opening yourself up to such a world of deliciousness.
Right.
So I'm gonna actually pair some of my favorite cocktails to food. My first one, gin martini and oysters. I know people hate oysters, but I think you should try them once in your life. Even if it's cooked Rockefeller style or if you take it off the half shell. I personally half shell, little horseradish, gin martini. And I mean, you can't get a better combo. It's slightly luxurious. You kind of feel fancy eating it. I'm all about that. Another one would be sushi and Prosecco.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's bubbly and crisp, so it kind of cuts out, because a lot of sushi that people order has that cream cheese element, right? And so that's going to cut it in half. And even if not, you're playing with fish, and that lightness of fish goes really well with the lightness of some type of Prosecco or champagne. Mm-hmm. And you can even do any champagne cocktail too. French 75, another great option for that. And then, dessert, a chocolate fudge cake and a Sazerac.
Ooh.
Whiskey and absinthe, cutting through that chocolate is divine.
I love a good Sazerac with a little honey.
Yes.
So good.
I think that is like one you have to try. Like, it's one of my favorites. I do it every now and then. I will make a chocolate cake to have a Sazerac with it.
This is my end game. We're getting here.
And last one, because we are in Texas, crawfish. Do a paloma with it. Do a tequila grapefruit. It's tequila grapefruit. It's like making a grapefruit margarita.
Okay.
It is.
Oh, and I can see that acidity and that spice.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. So, while we're kind of like on a food and drink bucket list, what are some things on your bucket list?
Ooh,
like activities-wise, because you're doing half marathons.
Yeah.
Is like a triathlon on your list?
I've already done a triathlon. I've done 2-3 triathlons, but a sprint triathlon, so it's much more manageable. Okay, because like my husband did a half Ironman, and like, my gosh, like, homeboy, I can't do what you did.
What does an Ironman consist of?
Oh my god, I'm gonna get this wrong. An Ironman is swimming, biking, running, but it's like equals out to be like 140 miles.
Oh, good
total, or something ridiculous like that. When a half Ironman is swimming, biking, running, I believe it's 70.3 miles.
Still out of my realm, but
right. Oh my gosh. But yeah, no, I've done a sprint, and the sprint equaled out to like, I don't know, 12 miles total.
Oh.
Of swimming, biking,
running. Of the 3 options you've given me, that's seems the most reasonable. Like me, a civilian, I'd probably die, but I could get close.
Right.
Versus like, that's like the MS 150. I'd make it to like 10 miles and be like, all right, well, I'm going home, guys.
Bye. So for me, I think bucket list wise, I would like to do, realistically, half Ironman. I would like to go for it at one point in my life. I think maybe when I'm retired and I have more time to dedicate to all of that. Watching my husband, I'm like, honey, no. He did it before he was in master's school, so he can't even like run like half the time he used to now because he's so stuck in school. But so much time goes into that. Another one, I want to do a full marathon. I think.
And a full marathon is 26.2.
26.2.
Nailed it.
Yes. And I think I would want to do it here in Houston, too. I think if I could get into the lottery to get picked into doing that one.
It's a lottery?
From my understanding, if you've never, like, you have to do a marathon to know, like, a pre-marathon to know what your finish time's going to be when you sign up. And if you haven't, you kind of get thrown into a lottery to get picked to be in it. Not everyone who applies is in it because there's a ton of people applying at this point.
Really?
Oh yeah. How many did they have? Like 12,000 people run the half marathon and the full marathon. Don't hold me to that. I also know that 25,000 people come out to spectate though, and I believe it.
Oh wow. See, I've never spectated. I've never done it. And what's funny is I used to work in the building with the office of the Houston Marathon.
Okay, yeah.
So, like, I would see their lobby. I'd walk past them all the time. And I was always like, oh, well, such a small office. I always see, like, 3 bodies in there. Oh, wow, this probably isn't very big. So now to hear that they not only have almost 30,000 people involved from start to finish, but there's a lottery, and you have to maybe be chosen. Like, so you could train all year long and not be chosen.
You would know. When you go to buy a ticket, I'm not 100% sure how it all works because I haven't applied for that one. And I got lucky with the half marathon. I got in the first time I applied. But yeah, from my understanding that if you didn't run it the previous year, or if you don't have like some like stellar marathon time, you're not necessarily guaranteed a ticket. Like you get put into a lottery and then they'll let you know in a very reasonable amount of time.
Well, that makes sense, because they wouldn't want someone like me, just someone off the street who's going to take 5 days to run 13 miles.
You could do it, I promise. People can walk it in like a half marathon in like 7 hours, easy.
That is so much walking.
Yeah, no, it is. It really is.
Just like imagining, like, that's a whole day practically of just walking.
Oh, I know. My husband, when he did his half Ironman, took him like 6.5 hours. And I'm like, I can't do anything for that long.
Oh my God. Besides sleep, and even then, that's hit or miss.
Yes. But back to bucket list, because I'm getting off topic. I could talk running all day. I think another thing I want to do is go to Italy. I want to start on one end of the coast and eat my way all the way to the other end. That is like, clearly I have a thing about food, but like that's what I want to do. Like that's like the ultimate vacation to me.
Oh, that'd be so amazing.
Yes, I want to come back like 60 pounds heavier and just be like, I know I did it, guys.
You could train. You could like train. Like practice eating.
Yes.
Get yourself down to fighting weight.
Yeah.
And then make your way through.
Yes. Just come at me.
Come to me.
Come at me. Because
accepting challengers.
Please bring it. And it's amazing because like there's so many different types of food. Like it's not what you necessarily think. And also, they have a pretty good cocktail game going on. They do a lot of aperitifs, so like Negronis and just any type of Campari drink.
I almost feel like they have courses that are just drink courses.
They have a full one. Okay, so 5 o'clock comes, and there is no one at work. Everyone is in the little cafe streets. They've got, they have aperitifs, and so it's these little appetizers. Crostinis, it can be fish pate, and then everyone's just drinking Negronis or some type of sparkling wine, something to really kind of open the palate and start it up for when they go home to their main meal. Everyone's like having a cigarette, drinking, and I'm like, maybe not the cigarette thing, but I would totally be there to drink and eat. Like, sign me up. And that's like such a great concept to me that like literally 5 o'clock comes, it doesn't matter if you have work to still do, you're done. You're done.
I know, and that's one thing that I've always like admired Europe for, their ability to have work-life separation.
Yes.
You know, with siestas in the middle of the day or leaving at the end of the day, that's it. There's no one pressuring you to stay. There's no internal pressure like, oh, I got to finish this. No, that's the end of the workday.
Yeah.
I'll work tomorrow. It's now my time.
And family is so important. The time you spend with your family and your friends and just the value put on that. It's so much more different than here, and I don't know.
I also feel like that's why eating for them and drinking is more of a celebration, because like we get to focus on it as opposed to here in America where everything's drive-through, you scarf it down.
Right.
Eating is just something that gets in the way of something else.
Right.
That's almost the attitude of it sometimes.
And that's kind of really like thinking about to my own website. I want to create that environment for people to just stop. Enjoy the cooking, enjoying the shaking of the drink, and then just sit in front of someone and make a memory and just go slow about it. Like, don't make it rushed. Enjoy this. Right. I joke with my husband, I'm like, I do Italian entertaining. And he's like, okay, calm down. All right. Relax. He's like, you're not even Italian. I'm like, I don't know, I'm not.
Right, 23andMe, here we go.
And so, okay, let's go into that. That would be another bucket list of mine. My mom's adopted. And so I don't have a clue what like half of my life is like. Oh, wow. And my dad is so hard into genealogy. And so I know everything. Like we've gone back as far as we can go back.
Oh, wow. So it's like literally 2 sides of a coin.
Yeah, completely. And so I want to get into, I want to get DNA tested. And then, so that's part of my bucket list, get DNA tested and then go visit some of my home countries. We have on my dad's side a castle in Ireland that's still standing that we're related to.
Nice.
I want to go so bad. I want to go. But on the other side, I'm interested to see what maybe the other part of my family.
What shakes loose from there.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe I'm Jewish.
That'd be cool. But what's funny is like, okay, so one thing that you do need to going into DNA testing, for example, I can't remember the name of the company, but there's a company that outright says on their website, we don't have any DNA from Native Americans.
Okay.
So if you are Native American, even if you're 100% Native American, when you take your DNA test, it'll say 0% Native American.
Okay.
So when you go into it, definitely read up on if they have any empty banks, so to speak. Like they know outright, we don't have any DNA from these places. So
okay, I'll have to
so just be aware of that. And some people, they're like, oh, well, I don't care.
Yeah.
But for me, I'd want the most fleshed out one as possible.
Well, and from the little that we know, my mom's family is from Georgia for the most part. And so there is, I forget what Native American tribe is from that area. And so, because my sister, we have different dads, and her dad was like half Indian.
Right.
And so, yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if we did have a little bit just from the area, but I don't look like it at all. Like it's probably like 0.0.
With your fair skin and blue eyes.
I know, my gosh. Like they're gonna be like, yeah, you're German, and I'm gonna be like, I knew that already.
Surprise, surprise. Tell me something I don't know, guys.
I think that would be the worst case scenario. It comes back and it's like, oh yeah, you're just everything your dad is. On your mom's side too.
Right. Now you're just double yourself.
Okay, great.
Thanks, guys. I mean, but I've seen some of those videos where someone gets their test and they're like, oh, wow, I'm 5% Ashkenazi.
Yeah.
I always say the wrong Ashkenazi Jew.
I know.
And they're like, oh, I had no idea. Or someone who's like, oh, I'm 100% Korean. And it's like, surprise, you're 25% Japanese.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh. That would blow my mind. I grew up Southern Baptist. It was a fun life. But it would be really interesting to find out maybe that's not what it is.
Right.
I think it'd be hilarious. And
there's a book my mom had wanted me to start reading. It was called, I think it's called One Drop, but it's a man who he goes through his whole life thinking that he's just white.
Yeah.
And I think it's his mom or his grandpa, someone on their deathbed says to him, we're actually half black, but since your grandfather was passing, it was just easier for the family for us to all just say we're white.
Right.
So it was like, he's in his like 40s or 50s and he's finding out like, oh my God, I'm a quarter black. Like, does this change my life? Should it change my life? Should it change my family's life? And it's just, his whole book is about how he processes that information and stuff like that. So that'd be interesting to see, like, if it would change anything for you, how it would change.
I think it would, because, well, actually, my dad was very surprised that we had a nice chunk of our family. It didn't break down from what part, but North Africa. And so, but the thing is, there's like this like little thing when my dad took it, because he took it with Ancestry, where it's like it can also be from like when I believe the Spaniards came down to North Africa for whatever reason. Right. I don't know history that well.
Colonization.
Yeah.
Colonization.
Yeah. And so it could be Spaniard more than it is like North African of any of those descents. But I think that would, though. I think that would set with me. I love knowing that stuff, and I love embracing just who I am as a person. And so for it to be just anything other than what I know, I think I would. I think I would take that and I would run with it.
A fun new adventure.
Yeah, I'm totally into that. I'm totally into being.
I'm gonna put it out there in the universe now that some of the stuff from your mom is Italian. Let's just put it out there.
Please.
Fingers crossed.
Give me a reason to go there and be like, I'm home. My people.
Even if not, adopt me.
Yes. I think I have it in my roots. Like, I love to drink and I love to eat, so, you know.
Oh, my God, this is so much hair. So much hair.
He's like, oh, I was collecting.
I know, and my mom, she's Filipino mostly.
Yes.
Like, she's mixed too, but she's mostly Filipino, and that's another culture of, like, everyone eats, all of us together. Yes. Almost like every meal's a potluck kind of thing. So, like, I do share your feelings of when you eat, like, it should be about community. It should be about making the meal the focus, everyone you're with the focus, trying to spend the time to make it special, as opposed to, like, oh, like, I actually know someone who's like, I don't care about food. It's just fuel. I could care less. And I'm like,
blows my mind. I don't.
So you're just going to drink Soylent every day for the rest of your life? And he was like, yeah, if I could, I would.
No.
Like, get out of my house.
No. I slaved over this meal. 3 hours.
And that's always funny to me. Like, it can take all day to cook something and then, like, 20 minutes to eat it, but it was totally worth it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm all about that. Like, some people were like, oh, did you get an Instapot? And I was like, no, because I enjoy taking 2 hours to roast something, or, like, call me crazy, but...
Explosions aside, I don't trust the Instapot simply because, like, there's no control. Once you lock the machine, you literally, there's no intervention from you.
No.
whatsoever. Like if I smell something burning in an oven, I can turn it, I can adjust the temperature, I can add things, I can take things away. God bless you. God bless you. It's like a time machine. Yeah. Like I don't know where it's going. No. It's like the TARDIS, just setting off into places unknown with my roast. Goodbye.
Now we need a TARDIS Instapod.
Right. So what else is on your bucket list?
The Carousel Bar in New Orleans. A little bit more practical. I can probably do that any weekend if I really wanted to.
I really want to try that.
I do too. My God.
And there's apparently is it a circus bar in New York?
Yes.
Where they have the carousel, but they also have like other theme stuff. Yep. But I was like, I want the one in New Orleans because that one, it moves at a speed that even after all of the drinks I want, I can still navigate. You're not completely
spinning.
Right. I'm not like, oh my God, someone help me.
Oh, we're not still on it? Okay.
No, we're in the Uber, Trees. Are you sure? Things are moving.
So definitely that. Kind of going into other bars too, which you mentioned New York. Death & Co. is a huge bar in New York in the craft cocktail scene. I would love to do that. What else?
So you've been to New Orleans before, right?
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite restaurants?
Oh, see, when I went to New Orleans, I was in college, so it was more about like visiting. I had two friends who went, or I have a step cousin, and I have a friend, Macy, who went to Tulane, and so it was more of like, what's the cheapest thing we can get, and then have money left over to go drink on bourbon.
Right.
So actually, I really want to plan a trip to New Orleans where I do explore the restaurant scene and I can actually like remember what we did.
Well, I can definitely throw one name in consideration. There's a restaurant called Ignatius, like the saint. And it's right off Magazine Street. Okay. I believe it's a door or two down from the Lush on that street. That place, Eric and I ate there before we went to get married because we eloped in New Orleans. So like, it was like a weekend thing. But Ignatius has some of the best boudin, and it's fresh. And then Eric got a gumbo that to this day he dreams about. And God, I had a Pim's cocktail and then something else that had like honey and like a floral liqueur. It was just
probably like honey and elderflower.
Yes, that's what it was, and something else. But oh my God, it was the tits. So Ignatius is definitely a place that every time someone's like, I'm going to New Orleans, I'm like, go to Ignatius.
Adding it to the list.
Go. And it's off Magazine Street, so it's a couple blocks up from St. Charles. Okay. So you can just take the tram and then just hike up.
Cool. Yeah. I think for my 30th birthday, I'm debating if that's what I want to do, is because it's in February, and now I found out like Fleetwood Mac's going to be playing on my birthday, and I was like, in New Orleans.
It's meant to be.
I'm like, all right, I think that's where we're going to go.
I think that's where you need to go.
I know, right? Need.
Like the universe has pretty much said, Michelle, I can't put your credit card information in. I've done everything else.
You'll need to be here. Stevie Nicks is beckoning you.
Come to me.
It is the magical town of New Orleans, and then there's magical Stevie Nicks there on your birthday. Like, why are you here?
What else?
Yeah.
What else do you need?
I mean, and I would probably go in full Stevie Nicks get up.
As well you should. Because, like, what's the point? If we're not going to, what's the point?
Oh, I know. Right? As for anything else, I think right now I'm learning how to, because back to my Italian, because I'm Italian. I'm Italian. I'm hoping. I'm learning to speak Italian, so that was kind of another bucket list, is just learn a new hobby and make it a language. And so right now I'm learning Italian. Don't ask me anything. I literally just started 2 weeks ago.
That's fine. Because Eric always makes fun of me because I'm the kind of person who, like, when I decide I'm going to do this, I tend to charge in without planning. Yeah. Because that's my personality typing. I'm an ENFP, ESFP, so I'm like, we can waste 3 months planning it, or I can just do it and figure it out as I go along. Right. I mean, this podcast is evident, but... so at one point, I was trying to learn 3 languages at once.
Oh my.
And he did just sit me down and go, Teresa, I'm uninstalling these apps because you are insane. I was trying to learn Romanian, Welsh, and French. Okay. All at the same time, because Duolingo is a great app. A couple minutes a day. They track how fluent you're getting. They send little reminders. I loved it. Yeah. I was making flashcards. I was doing this, and he was like, Teresa, you literally have not cleaned our bathroom in 2 months. Because all my free time, I was on my phone. And at first he was like, is this a game? Is it a social media? I was like, no, I'm just trying to learn this language. And he goes, then learn 1. I'm like,
yeah, but like anyone can learn 1.
But if I can learn 3 at the same time in the time it would take me to learn 1, isn't that more efficient? And he's like, no. So I was like, okay. So I had to like stop that so that I could start with just one. And Eric was like, why don't we learn Filipino, like Tagalog, especially since we're moving in with my parents.
Right, okay.
So my mom and my aunt, they're fluent, obviously, so they could help us. It could be like immersion.
Which is the best way to do it.
The best way, especially since like if you can't practice it, then you're going to forget it.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
like I took 4 years of Spanish. The only Spanish I remember to this day is what I learned dating Mexicans in high school.
There you go.
Because immersion.
Yeah. I know how to say hi, and I took 6 years of it. So, don't know what happened there. There were other things I needed to keep in my brain.
Right. There's only so much space, and I decided, get out.
I know, it's like a floppy disk. I was like, okay, floppy disk. What am I? I'm in the 80s.
I found some floppy disks while I was packing, though.
Oh, did you really?
I did, and I was like, Eric, should we find out what they're on this? He goes, no, throw them away. And I was like, but what if it's magic? Like, what if I had something amazing saved on here?
So you would have been like, okay, let's put it on eBay. Someone wants it as a collector's item.
Oh my God. There's boxes now where people like sell mystery boxes.
I know.
You pay $20 and a stranger just loads a bunch of shit in a box and mails it to you.
I know. I'd been like, okay, 80s box, floppy disk.
And then there's like, I saw a YouTube video the other day where it was like, the caption was, I bought a stranger's diary off eBay.
Yes.
First of all, never.
No.
Vintage Therese had some drama. Vintage Therese was going through it, and I don't even want to be witness, but we've talked about this. 4 a.m. Therese, she just tortures herself with the past. And I don't need now to think a complete stranger in Kansas is reading about those embarrassing times right now. They're judging me.
Yeah, no. Absolutely not. Let's just add that to the reasons why I'm up.
Right.
Like, oh, yeah, I know. Like, to this day, it happened when I was, 7, 6. I was in PE class, and I had pants on that were too big for me. Like, I knew it. They were, like, just barely too big. And I was like, it'll be fine. And our coach, who was very lovely, very nice man, at the end of the day would always pick up one kid, throw him over his shoulder, run around the gym. And it was a different kid every day. And I was like, he's never done it to me. He's never going to do it to me. On the big pants day.
Of course.
He picks me up. And when he goes to put me down, my pants fall off. And I'm just little Michelle in her panties to the entire class. And I still dream about that to this day. Like, I'll wake up at 4 a.m. in sweats. And I'm like, come on, girl. This is you were 6. It's okay. No one remembers.
No one remembers but you.
I
you
remember. It haunts me.
Oh I remember there was a time where I can't even, I guess it was like junior high, and like I had finally gotten the courage up to tell someone that I had a crush on them.
Oh, no.
But like they didn't hear me. So like they turned and they were like, sorry, what'd you say? I didn't hear you. So it was like I could have taken this moment to just be like nothing and walk off. But Vintage Therese was like, hey, in for a pinch, in for a pound. Let's do this. And I repeated myself, and I got the, oh. And he's like, ah. Like that, oh, echoes in my mind, and I just crumble, like, why?
Yes. Oh, goodness. Things just pop up. Like, I probably couldn't even name half of them right now.
Until they come up. And then you remember them in vivid detail.
Yeah.
I remember how the hair on the back of my neck felt. That, like, prickles of stress sweat happening.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
Shambles City.
I kind of do the, like, Voldemort Harry Potter thing where, like, I twitch my neck a little bit. Like, I'm like, oh, gosh.
No.
Oh, no.
Or just the cringing. Like, the, just,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, when you reach into the sink and you touch something wet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that feeling, which is like, that happens.
It just takes over.
It's involuntary.
Oh, no. And at the worst times.
Always.
Always.
Oh, God. I can't tell you how many times I've been driving, and then I remember, like, an embarrassing thing I said in high school.
Yes.
And it's like I teleported. I astral projected back to that very moment in time.
And I'm like, why?
And I'm living that moment again. And I'm literally yelling in the car, stop! Focus on driving!
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I feel like it's gotten 10 times worse because I work from home. And, yeah. That is, don't be at home with your thoughts. That's dangerous.
There have been times where, like, I will stop what I'm doing, and it's like I have to lecture myself, like, no, you're not going to do this. You're going to focus.
Yes.
We got to rewire the brain.
Or I'm, like, trying to fall asleep, and I'm like, don't do it.
Don't you do it. Don't you do it. And your brain's like, you mean this? And just slides a memory across the table. I've written a figure down. Here you go.
Please respond back.
Okay, so getting back on track.
It's okay. Totally okay.
So when you ran your first half marathon, how did that feel? Besides exhausting.
Awful. Okay, so I did this, I don't know what was in my head thing, where I set up my first half marathon was going to be January this year. It's going to be the Houston half marathon. Well, then I kind of panicked, and I was like, I don't want that to be my first half marathon because I didn't want to go into it blind.
Right.
So I set up one in Galveston in December. So I'm only putting like barely a month between my first half marathon and my second. That's just kind of crazy for a normal runner who does half marathons all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyways, the Galveston one comes in December, and I think I've trained. I think I've gotten my nutrition down for the run.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it, and I just did not get anything right. I was borderline, I'm not a crier, and I was holding back tears because I was in so much pain.
Oh my God.
I had tied my shoe too tight, and so like the top of my foot was just like throbbing. My toes were throbbing. I wore the wrong type of socks, and they were getting like jammed because I was slipping in my shoes.
Oh my God.
I came out with tons of blisters, a purple toenail, and I was like bawling almost. And
it's like you got in a fight.
It's like I got into a fight, and I just did not do the right thing, setting myself up for it. So kind of my first one, not the best experience. But at the same time, it was such a learning curve, and it was so good to be like, okay, you know what you need to do at this point, and you know what you did wrong.
Right.
So I'm kind of grateful that I did set it up that way, because had that been my, Houston half marathon experience, I probably would never do it again.
Right.
But I already signed up for it. I already paid for it. I was going to have to do the half in January. So I did a lot of research. I fixed my nutrition for the run. I did a couple extra runs to make sure, I was just ready in general. I changed my socks. I loosened my laces. Like, I did everything that I did wrong the first time. And so then really my second one's really the one I can kind of consider my first half marathon. It was the best time.
Oh, good.
I mean, total 180. You could not talk about different races at all. I was, again, 25,000 spectators come out. I was talking with people, high-fiving them. I was, because I'm a dog person, I'm waving at the dogs. Look like probably a crazy person. But
because you're more enthusiastic. Hey, puppy.
Hi, dog.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Hey. Oh my God, you're so cute.
Yeah.
I just imagine a dog in a stroller and you just losing your mind.
I lost my mind. Okay, it was probably right after the halfway point. I came around a curve, and there was this English setter, and setters are just, you don't see setters. That's not a breed you see very often. And it was the first one I've ever seen in person. And I was like, that's an English setter. It's so pretty. I have an Irish. Screaming at this lady, and she's just looking at me. And I was like, okay, bye. Yeah, that's my personality. But yeah, no, I mean, I was having a great time. I was laughing. I was running with people. I made so many friends.
Mm-hmm.
And just I really enjoyed it. It was running is such a personal journey, but at the same time, it can be you make all these friends and you run with people and you support them, they support you. But at the end of the day, it's about what you put into it mentally, physically, and how far you're pushing yourself. I mean, I really didn't get to enjoy that first run and kind of get that, you did it. I was like, I'm not dead.
That sounds like a victory I can claim.
I was like, put me in the car.
Survived.
I was like, oh gosh, because the race was at Moody Gardens the first time, that I was like, I can't make it to the car.
No.
Where Houston was completely different. I was like, where's my shirt? Where's my medal? Where can we get a drink? I'm so excited. I did it.
So runner's high is a thing.
Oh, definitely. And I would say I probably got it the most. So you go up Allen Parkway and you come down.
Right.
And it's the city skyline, and you're less than 2 miles out at that point, maybe even a mile. And I don't think I've experienced something so euphoric when I came up across that hill and came down, and there's the city skyline, and you're just like, I can do this at this point. I can make that. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna finish. And it's so, I can't explain the emotion behind it. I'm not a super emotional person. And so for me, I'm just what are these feelings? I was like,
something's happening.
This is crazy. And so yeah, no, I I don't know. I think, running for me, the real first time, the one I consider the first time, the Houston half was just, it got me in. Like, I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to...
You got the bug.
I got it. I had it before, but, like, not like that. Not that just you did it yourself. Like, it's so self-gratifying. And I think I kind of put it on par with when I graduated. It's kind of the last thing I did that was just for me. And I think that's another reason I got into it is because I needed something to do for myself.
Right.
But with like a quicker turnaround.
Yeah, because a lot of things in your life seem to be like
they take forever.
Yeah, it's a slow, steady process. Mm-hmm. We're just moving, inching along. You hit the milestones, and then it's like, when's the next milestone?
Yeah.
So having something that, like you said, it's a quicker. I mean, 13 miles. So.
I ran my half marathon in 3:45. Which is not fast. Matter of fact, to get on comparison, my husband, who's run his entire life.
Ugh, I hate those people. The worst.
I love him, but I hate him at the same time. He can do the full marathon in that time. I'm like, you can run double the distance I can.
Sit down.
No.
Brad, sit down.
I know.
No, literally.
I know.
Sit.
Like, go in your corner.
Go wait for me in the car.
Yeah, like, no, sir. I love him to death because he's like, it doesn't matter, honey. Like, you did it. It doesn't matter how long it takes. So, super grateful that he's like, that way about
Whatever, right? Yeah, like, he could easily be you should do better. Like, he could be too competitive.
Right.
Or he could be like, oh, well, you didn't do good enough. So, for him to be supportive, that's a nice little...
Well, I also kind of shoved down his throat, too. I'm like, you're naturally good at this. So...
Right, and he's, like you said, it's almost like he's been training for years.
Well, he started running middle school and doing cross country. He has the body for it. He's naturally built for it. When he was in high school, he was one of the top runners in Texas.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like super crazy. And then he got into cycling, which is how he got into triathlon. But yeah, no, he's trying to qualify for Boston. That's not going to happen until after master's school. But on any given day, he could probably pick up and run a marathon without training just because I don't know what he is. I don't know.
He's an alien.
Yeah, he's like the Flash. I don't know.
He's a superhero just trying to lay low.
Yeah, he's like, honey, don't watch. I got to put on my super suit.
Oh my God, that reminds me of like the Incredibles 2 trailer.
Oh yeah.
Where are you going? You better be back. I can't wait to see it.
Me too. I'm like, finally, like the sequel I've wanted.
Right, and it's like, it took us how long to get it?
Not okay. Not how many Finding Nemo's, what did they do a lot of? My mind just went blank.
I know, like when you started the sentence, I was like, oh yeah, and then at the same time, we just both went.
No, I was like, Finding Nemo, there was only one.
There was, Finding Nemo, then we waited a bunch of years for Finding Dory.
Oh, I know.
Which I loved.
I did too.
But,
I'll remember on my car ride home.
Right, you'll text me and I'll just put it in the show notes. By the way, this is what we meant. But, so since you're newer, what is something that you would tell someone who's just starting from scratch, getting into marathons and half marathons?
So start small. Like, run a 5K. Like, see how you feel in it. Personally, at this point, I feel like a 5K is harder. Just because you learn to pace yourself in larger races. And so, but you kind of need to build up. Unless you're going to give yourself like half a year to a year, if you're talking going from couch to half marathon.
Yes.
I would definitely put some races in there, give yourself something to look forward to, something to train to, and kind of get associated with how you feel on race day. Something else is join groups. There's running groups all over. And some of them you pay fees, some of them you don't. But meet people. Even if you are like me, I run intervals because I have sports asthma. I do like a 12:20. And so I'm slow. But there's people out there who that's what they run and they're good with it. And you can meet up with those people and run and they're going to have advice for you and they're going to help you and you can turn around and help them. And you make these connections. Again, even though it's a personal journey running is, there's so many people who you can get involved with who actually make it a really good time and a good experience. And they get it. Because they're out there running too. And I think that's a big thing because a lot of people are like, I just couldn't run. And you get that because you were one of those people. But when you have people who are like, no, I get it. Oh my gosh, yeah, I have 6 different types of nutrition. I'm trying to, figure out which one works for me. I have goos and they don't settle with my stomach. And you're like, I know, right? Where someone else is like, oh, what's a goo?
Yeah, like me.
Yeah. And so, and it's good to have people who understand. And, you know, I've learned a lot just kind of, especially with sports asthma, especially with being slow, from people who've done it. I'm surrounded, my husband, like we just talked about, is super fast. His best friend, who they're good friends of ours, he is super fast too. They ran together in high school. His wife, a lot faster than I am. And so, like, I have all these people who are just going beyond me. And so I needed a group of people who were in my level.
Right.
And finding those people.
Because you could hurt yourself trying to keep up with.
Absolutely.
With these superhumans that you're
Absolutely.
cavorting with.
Which I will get into that next. So find people who, you know, you can run with. And it's going to help you keep motivated, too, to hit your goals.
Absolutely.
Another thing, which kind of plays into both. Find a running store. Not a Dick's, not an Academy, none of those. Find a local running store.
Just for running.
Just for running. It might even be a triathlon store. That would work too. Get yourself fitted for shoes. The right type of shoes are going to help keep you from getting injured.
And that was going to be one of my follow-up questions.
Yep.
And a running store, they can also help you talk about the different ways to tie your shoes, right?
Different ways to tie your shoes, how loose and how tight to tie them. They'll help you get the right type of socks.
There's so much that goes into this.
You don't realize. You're like, you don't just like go out the door and run.
Yeah, you don't just go.
And you're like, well, for like maybe like a 5K, 10K, you can definitely get away with that. But if you're wanting to do long distance and you want to make sure you don't get hurt, you want to set yourself up like long term without having to get joint pain, you definitely want to do it kind of.
Shin splints.
Yes.
That's real. It's real.
Kneecaps just kind of giving out, like.
That's happened to me once. I literally was attempting a jog. I was like, I can do this. And like my ankle went, nope, and just gave up on me. And I like rolled into the neighbor's yard and I just was like, this is where I die.
No, when I first started out, I had weak ankles. Like I know that. So I forget what movie it is. There where like you're in high heels, you have weak ankles and she falls over. That's my life, or was. And starting running and kind of exercising that, I don't fall over as much.
And see, I have fallen arches.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I stand, I'm flat-footed, but like sitting, I have an arch.
Mm-hmm.
I've got bad ankles from years and years of dance. So that also makes those two together make my knees kind of weird.
Yes.
Which in turn makes my lower back kind of weird. So it's like
I'd have to
like get a new shoe, which is a good foundation to shift everything where it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd still have to practice because you can't just throw on new shoes and go, right?
No.
What's the like breaking in process?
For new shoes, it can take anywhere to like 2 weeks to, I don't know, a couple months, depending how much you run.
True. And that's the other thing. Like,
and
you
how many
just
miles.
gotta run as often as you can.
Right. Normally a pair of running shoes, about 400 miles before you need to get a new pair, but you can also look at the bottoms of them, and you'll see wear patterns. So that's another suggestion. If you go to a running shoe store and get fitted, take in your old shoes that you've run in, because they're going to look at the wear patterns and be like, okay, you pull more this way, you pull more that way, and they're going to see, like, I put a lot more weight on my left foot, and so, like, the half curve on the side is really worn down, or on my right foot, it's, like, just kind of worn down. I don't know what's going on.
Right? Like, can I buy just the one shoe?
Yeah, can we just fix that? Like, tell me what to do. But yeah, take your old shoes in, let them see the wear patterns, get fitted, and then also get fitted for the distance. Not every shoe is meant for long distance. Not every shoe is meant for mid distance. And then there's trail running, and then there's pavement running. And so having the right shoe is going to help you keep from getting injured, and it's going to make it more comfortable. You know, if you have, like, you're talking fallen arches, there's shoes for that, and there's insoles, like inlines you can put in, and it's going to make it way more comfortable, especially when you start getting past that 3-mile marker, that 6-mile marker, and, you know, you've been in your shoes already for 2 hours, per se. So definitely do that, and I know there's so much.
I'm so glad I asked that, because, like, I was one of the people who thought, oh, yeah, you just buy a pair of running shoes from, like, Nike and just go.
And some people do, and they can get away with it. But I've just personal experience with everyone I know and myself. It's made the biggest difference in my running. And I used to have knee pain when I ran. I was running in just a pair of shoes I got from, I think it was Academy. And so they fitted me for shoes. I don't have that knee pain anymore. It went away.
Because Eric the other day, he ran, I think, a handful of miles on a treadmill. and his hips hurt him for like 2 weeks.
I can't do treadmill. I cannot.
And that's one thing I told him. I was like, maybe you shouldn't run on the treadmill. He's like, well, then where am I supposed to run? I was like, outside? I don't know. I don't run. Look at me.
I go out in the neighborhood and I just run.
Because I have sports-induced asthma too, but unlike you, I really lean into that excuse. I'm like, well, I can't run. Sorry, guys. Just leave me here. I'll just catch up later. Like, I've really leaned into that. But it's funny because, like, for dance or yoga, Pilates, like, I don't mind that because those ones, you're encouraged to stay and breathe. You're encouraged to take your time and really. So that's why I'm like, oh, this is stuff I can do. Yeah. Versus like Eric's always like, just go for a jog. I'm like, that or not.
You know, and for me, it was learning how to breathe and run is where I got comfortable with running, because I always started running. I'm a sprinter naturally. So I'm like, how fast can I go?
Short bursts.
And then
I can do short bursts.
My lungs are like, you can't breathe. Stop, woman. So learning to tone it back a lot. Okay. Like, a lot. So toning it back, learning to breathe and doing intervals. So, hey girl, I run a minute and a half and then I walk a minute. Okay. And that gets me across the finish line in under 3 hours. Or under 4 hours for a half marathon. Doing those things really kind of changed my perspective on running. I have been told my entire life by PE teachers that you don't have the body to run, you can't run. I've been told straight up, you're a shitty runner, you're never going to run.
That's so mean. Who was saying these things?
My high school PE teacher. Because I was one of the last ones, but they were trying to make us do 7-minute miles.
Oh, yeah. I remember those stupid tests.
Yeah.
Do you know that now kids don't have to do that anymore?
Good.
But in a way, I'm like, awesome, that's great. But at the same time, it's like, I had to do that. Right. You should have to do that.
Just because I know a lot about the development of the body from my master's degree, but it's terrible at that age. Like, if you aren't trained for it, it's terrible to be pushing someone.
Because they would literally go, it literally goes 0 to 100.
Yeah, it's like,
I've been
in your body.
Dicking around in PE for the last 6 years, and now I'm in 7th grade, and now you want me to run?
Yeah.
Good day, Linda.
Yeah.
No.
Here's my note.
Right, I really tried. I was like, can I get a doctor's note? And my doctor was like, I could, but then all they'll do is extend the time. Yeah. So I still had to do it, but they would have given me an additional couple minutes, and I was like, just get this over with.
And that's the thing. Like, I was always discouraged. I was not a runner 3 years ago. And it was because of that. I was so discouraged in just my ability to run. I have sports asthma. That doesn't help the scenario. But I was also never taught properly how to run. And it isn't one of those things you can just go out and do for most people. Some people can get away with it. Like I said, there's tons of people who do. But someone like me or someone who's just starting out, it will make your life so much easier in the long run if you just kind of take the time to look into research. Just scroll through runnersworld.com and just go through, different types of plans, what they suggest for your form. If you have sports asthma, there's all kinds of things about sports asthma and running. Don't let you limit yourself, because anyone can do it. Really, truly, just about anyone can do it. And I think a lot of people they're like me. They were just told they couldn't.
And so they were like, all right, well, that's my reality.
And they think that they have to run 7 minutes a mile. You don't have to. There's plenty of people in the back. I swear, they're like some of the best people. We're all like, we're slow, high five.
Yes.
Yeah. We're all going to die.
If we can survive, guys, we made it.
We did it.
And if anything else, I'm always the person who's like, hey, the parking lot will be half empty by the time we get there. Let's do it.
Yeah. No, we'll get all the extra beer.
Right.
Everyone's left.
That's perfect.
Perfect. And, the community's so great. Like, my gosh. Don't get me wrong. There's always going to be the snobby people in every community.
Absolutely. That's like human beings.
Right. But for the most part, everyone wants to see you do good. And everyone's so open to,
supportive.
Come run. Like, just hang out with us. Like, biggest beer drinkers in the world are going to be runners. I swear.
It's all the carbs.
It's all the carbs. Every single race I've been to has beer at the end. And I'm like, all right, guys, let's go get our beer. Load it up. Beginning of every race, I'm like, all right, you get a beer afterwards? Yeah, all right, that's what we're running for. Let's go.
That's my motivation. Let's do this. So you were saying that with your husband and his friend and his life and them all being runners, like, how does that kind of, influence you or help you? Or
in the beginning, I think I kind of took it a little too personal, where I was like...
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
Where it's almost like a personal, I'm failing because I'm not on your level.
Right. And his friends are, I can't emphasize it, just like him, so sweet, so kind. They are the epitome of what the running community is. And they're just like, no, like, you're a runner. Like, do you hear that? I was like, I am a runner.
Especially with you not being very emotional.
Yeah.
I just imagine you like, I'm not going to cry. I'm just sweating from my face.
Yeah.
It's a lot of sweat.
Like, very few minimal times in my life have I been emotional, but when, like, my husband's best friend, or his wife was like, honey, no, you are a runner. I was like, I know. Thank you. Thank you. You're good. You're good stuff.
I'm going to keep you.
Thank you. And it's true, though. Like, I really love them. I think they are the reason why I've been able to do this. And it does. Like, at the beginning, it was one of those things where I was like, I can't keep up. Like, what's the point of doing it if you can't be on their level?
Right.
And I know they're just like, no, like, they were like, just go to a race. And they're like, you're going to have people around you and you're going to realize, oh, I'm not like the last person, and it's not secular. Like, all of this is in my head because I've been told wrong my entire life.
Right. And then with like TV too, like when you see marathons on TV, it's you're either at the beginning or that's it.
No.
And it's like there's always in the movies that one person, they're taking apart the marathon, like everyone's gone home, it's pitch black, and they're like hobbling to the line alone.
And that's the one, like, again, I can't emphasize the running community and how amazing they can be. That person who's still out there, there's people waiting at the finish line for them.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, there'll be people from the, like, race directors will still stick around most of the time. They're like, it doesn't matter, you did it. Like, even if you had to walk majority of it, it doesn't matter, you did it.
Right, and isn't that like, it's not like the marathon winners, it's finishers. You finish.
You finish.
That's what's important.
Right, exactly.
I love that.
It's such, and like, I had no idea that's what that was, that community, that running was that. And once I allowed myself to be open to it first, because that was the biggest thing. And then I put the time into it and I got to know people. And I did my first, like, I'd say when I did my first 10K is really where I was like, okay, this feels like more like what I want it to feel like.
Like you're hitting your stride.
Yeah, I'm hitting
funny.
Exactly. Where you're hitting your stride and you're just kind of being like, I'm alright, like I'm good even though I'm in the back.
Right. I'm better than I thought I was gonna be.
Yeah, I am. And I don't know, like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel competitive anymore, like, with them. And I feel like I'm part of the group because they've like cultivated it for me to be like, this is the environment, you're welcome to be here, and don't reflect it. It's a personal journey. Kind of, you want to go back to blogging, don't compare yourself to other people. Don't compare your numbers to other people.
Right, I was really, the whole time I was thinking this is a lot like blogging is long, slow process. It's a long journey. Build a community, that's the biggest part. Don't compare yourself. And no matter where you are, there's others in the same kind of part of the pack as you. So I was like, oh, I see you. Yeah, lots of parallels.
It is a lot of parallels. And so, yeah, no, it's nothing against them at this point. And everything it was me. It was just self-conscious me.
Right. So, right. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let everyone know where they can find you, what you're working on.
Okay, so you can find me at www.elletalk.com. You can also find me on social media at Elle_talk. All platforms, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter. I'm on Twitter all the time. You want to talk adventures, Harry Potter, food, cocktails, hit me up.
Yes.
Love that.
We'll probably have her back again for a Harry Potter focused episode.
Please.
Because we did point out that if we had done a Harry Potter centered episode, we'd be here for days.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll just shelve that for another time. And so that's something we can look forward to in the future. I will link to all of Michelle's stuff in the show notes. And you guys have a great one. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.